We're doing another mock draft today, coming right up. And welcome to another episode of the Gridiron Fantasy Football Podcast. Today is Friday, August 7th, 2020. And of course, I am Chip and I'm your host. And thank you so much for listening today. If you're a new listener, thank you so much for tuning in. Please share this podcast with everybody that you know. You can find us over on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. If you'd like to watch us, you can watch us over on YouTube at Gridiron Fantasy Football. So please don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss another episode. And now, how's everyone doing? How's everyone's week going? I hope everyone's having a great week. I hope you're doing well. Today started my weekend, and today I've been really trying to focus on recording a lot of content to publish in the next few weeks. Because I know this is the month that people have their drafts. I want to make sure that all my listeners are ready for the drafts. Given my opinions and my videos on my overvalued, undervalued players, my bounce back players, my must-own players, my caution players. So all that stuff's going to be, obviously if it's not been released yet, it's going to be released soon. And, this is something that we're getting to the point where drafts will start from now until the first, right before the first week of the season. And I'm super excited to be able to bring that content to you. I'm excited for my own drafts and my own personal leagues, and it's going to be really, really fun. Today we're actually going to be doing another mock draft, and now this mock draft is more geared towards the zero running back strategy. This strategy is more geared towards your PPR formats. The theory behind this strategy is due to the limited amount of workhorse running backs that you have. It allows you to be able to still get elite players in other positions. So, if you're someone who has to draft 10 or 11 or 12, in a 12-team league, might be a strategy you have to pivot to if you can't get a main elite running back workhorse fall to you. So it's one of those things where if you can get those elite receivers and that elite tight end, why not stock up on those players, because it's really going to help balance your roster. Now, the downside of this strategy is the fact of the matter is that the winning percentage on this strategy is very low. So the problem is you really have to hit on the running backs that you grab later on in the draft. Those mid-range guys are the guys that you have to try to focus on and hopefully hit on those guys. And if not, that can really hurt your team. However, if you are able to draft well and you get elite wide receivers, you can still trade those guys to get an elite running back. So don't feel like it's all lost if you can't get an elite running back and you have to go wide receiver heavy. So just look at that. And also too, if you do have elite wide receivers, the running back position is a running back position that has a lot of injuries. You're talking about running backs who are workhorse running backs that get 20 plus touches a game. So you got to think about all the hits they take, all the lateral movements they have to make, all the pivots, all the things they have to do. They're more at risk to get injured. So if you're able to find elite wide receivers and find these guys that are, productive in the mid rounds, that's going to be a huge benefit to you and hopefully take you on to a fantasy championship. So we're going to do that in a brief moment, but I'm going to go over some of the news. Right now, breaking news out of Washington. The Washington football team have released Derrius Guice. Guice was arrested on Friday on domestic violence charges. Now, with his release, this obviously gives huge upside to Antonio Gibson. He's a rookie out of Memphis. He is a hybrid wide receiver running back, but it looks like because of his talent, they're going to try to find a way to use him and make that offense more dynamic. I know they have Adrian Peterson and Peyton Barber, but if I had to choose a guy on that roster from the running back position, I am going Antonio Gibson. Now the problem with him, he is now going to be sought after because, his stock is going to go up. His ADP is going to go up. And that's unfortunate because he's a guy that you could have gotten late, maybe your last pick of the draft. But now with the release of Derrius Guice is now going to cause his stock to rise, which it may hurt you in your strategy on trying to get somebody that's going to have a huge value. But I do think that that's the guy that is going to have the most upside this year when it comes to the rookies. Now, Bruce Arians has announced that Ronald Jones will be the main guy in the Bucs backfield. Now, this makes a whole lot of sense. It's his third year now. It's his second year in the Bruce Arians offense. He has worked super hard to kind of add some weight. He's up to 225. He's been working on his pass catching. So I think that he has every right and the open opportunity to be able to be that starting running back in the Bucs backfield. Now, I was a little concerned the fact that they drafted Keyshawn Vaughn, and then they signed LaShawn McCoy. But I think they're starting to get more trust with Ronald Jones, and I really hope that he does, well this year. I hope that he has improved in his pass protection. I hope that he's a guy that does not have to come off the field, because with him coming off the field on third downs and whatnot, that means he has to do a lot with the first and second down opportunities. So hopefully he has improved as much to the point where he never has to come off the field, and they're only using LaShawn McCoy or Keyshawn Vaughn, sparingly. But I'm rooting for Ronald Jones. He's a guy that was highly drafted in the draft a couple years ago, and we were hoping for, big things from him. So I hope this is the year that he breaks out, and I hope that it, helps the Bucs, this year as well. And with that, Marquise Brown, the Ravens wide receiver, has added 23 pounds of muscle this offseason. Now, I know this is not huge news, but I mean, the fact that the guy's working, right? He went from 157 pounds to 180. That's crazy to think that somebody who's smaller than me is playing in the NFL at that size. But this just goes to show how elite this guy is in his speed and his skills. I mean, to be 157 pounds and be an NFL player, I mean, that's crazy to me. But I love the fact that I love seeing players work their butts off in the offseason to get a goal, a personal goal, to be able to add the weight, be more durable, be stronger, so he can be that true number one for the Ravens. Now, I don't know how this changes his speed, because Marquise Brown is known for his speed. Adding that much weight, adding 23 pounds, I don't know if that makes him a little bit slower or whatnot, but I'm excited to see what he's able to do on the football field now, being that heavy at 180 pounds. But he's a guy that he's one of my favorite targets in the draft, late in the draft, maybe mid-round guy. But if he's there, I definitely want to draft him. I think he has sneaky upside this year. And going with that, Steelers wide receiver Deontay Johnson declared himself 100% after his offseason hernia surgery. He's the guy that everyone was looking at this year as another breakout wide receiver. And I think he does have that potential. I think obviously with Big Ben coming back, Juju's back. They have James Washington. They added Eric Ebron. James Conner's back healthy. I do think Deontay Johnson is going to be a guy that you can grab later in drafts. He may not get drafted at all. Depends on how much belief you have in him. But I do think that, Deontay Johnson's name is going to come up a lot this year. He's definitely one of those guys that has high upside and definitely a value pick if you're able to get him. And especially with Big Ben coming back, I think that the sky's the limit for Deontay Johnson if he's able to stay healthy, if that offense is clicking. Now, last, the Dolphins wide receivers Albert Wilson and Allen Hurns have opted out of the 2020 season due to COVID concerns. Now, this definitely gives huge upside to Preston Williams and Devontae Parker. Now, if I had to choose between the two receivers in my drafts, I'm going to choose Devontae Parker. I'm not a big fan of drafting guys coming off of ACL surgeries. That makes me really concerned, just because it takes obviously a full 9 to 12 months of rehab, and then for him to kind of feel back to his normal self, it takes another year or so. So, Preston Williams is a guy that I would love to draft next year, but this year I'm kind of worried on that. I'm not really big fans of guys coming off ACL injuries. Now, I know before Preston Williams got injured last year, he was the target leader for the Miami Dolphins. So I know if he's on the field, he is that talented, but I just think I'm going to lean more towards Devontae Parker, especially early on, because we have no idea if Preston Williams is even going to be starting on the active roster this year. So Devontae Parker is definitely a guy that I'm going to target, just because the targets are going to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, without Allen Hurns and without Albert Wilson, that just gives a bump in everybody at the wide receiver position for especially Devontae Parker and Mike Gesicki. So don't forget his name either at the tight end position. So that's the news. So right now we're going to jump into the mock draft, and I have everything set up, so let's get into it. Okay, so now we're in the mock draft, so we're using the Sleeper app just like we did last time. I love the Sleeper app. It allows you to be so customizable when it comes to your roster size, your league settings, if it's PPR, standard, whatnot. So right now, like I said, I have the 12th position in the draft, so I'm going to go ahead and start and begin the draft. And if you're watching this over on YouTube, you can watch the draft board on YouTube. All right, so the draft has started, And surprisingly, Alvin Kamara was the number one running back off the board. Then you had Christian McCaffrey, Zeke, Saquon Barkley, and then Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the fifth running back off the board before Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry. Now, this is obviously something that we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of this. We're going to see Clyde Edwards-Helaire just continue to skyrocket up the draft board. But crazy to see him go before Dalvin Cook. But that's not unlikely. I mean, that's if you really believe in him and believe in that offense this year, obviously, which you should because it's the Chiefs. But that's crazy to see him go that early. And then you have the first wide receiver was Michael Thomas off the board. And then you have Devontae Adams as the second wide receiver. Follow that up with Joe Mixon and then Miles Sanders. So like I said, I'm doing wide receiver heavy. So I have 2 picks in a row. And I'm going to see what I have at wide receiver. So obviously Tyreek Hill is there. I love Tyreek Hill. He is one of my favorite players. So I'm going and draft Tyreek Hill. And then now I have the choice. Do I want to go tight end and grab Travis Kelce, or do I want to get Julio Jones? This is tough for me because I definitely like Travis Kelce. He's one of my favorite players, but I definitely don't like having 2 players on the same offense. So what I'm going to do is I like Julio Jones. He's obviously an elite wide receiver. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draft Julio Jones over Travis Kelce. And then following my pick, Kenyon Drake, Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs, Patrick Mahomes goes at the 2-5. Then Nick Chubb, DeAndre Hopkins, and then Austin Eckler. And Travis Kelce comes off at the 2-8. Lamar Jackson comes at the 2-10. And then you have George Kittle to round out the second round. Now it's my pick again. Now here I'm still going to look at wide receiver. I could choose a running back here. I can look at tight end. Mark Andrews is still there, so I could go that route. I have 2 picks in a row, so I have no problem picking up a tight end and a receiver. Right now, the top choices for wide receiver right now are DJ Moore and Amari Cooper. That's a tough one for me. I don't know. I like DJ Moore. I haven't seen enough from DJ Moore to want me to for me to want to take him here. So what I'm gonna do is, I have back-to-back picks, so it doesn't really matter who I pick right now. But I'm going to go Mark Andrews. I'm going to solidify the tight end position there and to get Mark Andrews. And now it's my pick again. I'm going to choose a wide receiver. Looking at the options, you have DJ Moore. There's Amari Cooper. I'm not a big fan of Cooper Kupp, and I don't want to draft Calvin Ridley because I already have Julio Jones. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the chance, and I'm going to grab Amari Cooper. I like the offense more in Dallas than I do in Carolina, so that's the pick there. I just think that Amari Cooper is a guy who does go quiet once in a while, but at that point you have to look at who has a better offense, and obviously the Cowboys have the better offense than Carolina. Now going through some of the picks, some of the main draft picks there. Jonathan Taylor, the second best rookie running back based on rankings. He went at the 4-7, and then you had David Montgomery got the 4-10, and then you have Zach Ertz, another tight end, goes at the 5-3 on the turnaround. So right now, this is the time where I could either still go wide receiver or I can now find those running backs. So I'm going to see exactly what's available. And right now, I look at the running back position. It is getting thinner, obviously, and this is whole part of this strategy to see exactly what you have there. But since I have back-to-back picks, you know what? I was talking before. I'm going to take Ronald Jones. I know that might seem a little bit early, but if it's true that he's going to be the workhorse running back, then I'm going to take Ronald Jones here. And then I'll go back to wide receiver. And I love Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, I have him on my Dynasty roster, and I love the fact that I have him. He is a guy that I think could have a Chris Godwin type season, so I have no problem taking Terry McLaurin right there. So with that being the case, my roster right now is Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones, Mark Andrews, Amari Cooper, Ronald Jones, and Terry McLaurin. So I now am going to be able to draft best player available, and more than likely that's going to be in the running back position, because right now, Cam Akers, the rookie running back for the Rams, got drafted, And then, unfortunately, Derrius Guice got drafted, but that, obviously that's, we're doing this right now after news broke, so I can't imagine that that's not going to be the case in mock drafts. We had a run on quarterbacks. We had Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray go at the 6'4", 6'7", and 6'8". Then on the turnaround, you had Deshaun Watson, Drew Brees, and Tom Brady at the 7'4". And then Matt Ryan at the 7'11". So now this is the time of the draft where I got to figure out, do I want to grab a quarterback now? I mean, we still have Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, Matthew Stafford. I mean, we still got a lot of good quarterbacks there, so I'm not going to get a quarterback right now. I still need to get my running backs figured out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, right now on the board, we have Jordan Howard, which I think is a sneaky player this year. I think he can be really good. And we have Tevin Coleman. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draft Tevin Coleman because I do think that in that offense for the 49ers, I know Raheem Mostert is going to probably be the starter, but they're always interchangeable. They always are relevant. We saw it last year. So I think that, Tevin Coleman right now is the guy that I'll draft in this position. And then looking at having the back-to-back picks, it is getting kind of slim at running back. Wide receiver, I think I'm good right now. There's some good players I can probably get on the turnaround. So going back to running back, seeing who's available. I can probably wait for Antonio Gibson for another couple rounds. I don't want to really overdraft him. I'm going to go ahead and just grab Jordan Howard. I think that there's potential there. So this is, like I said, this is part of the strategy. You're not going to get the big name running backs. Hopefully they're productive enough to kind of help get your roster along and your win, and get wins, week in and week out and be productive and consistent. And some notable names that went. We had Aaron Rodgers got the 8-6. Deontay Johnson went the 8-7. With Deebo Samuel still being injured, he went at the 8-9. Then we had a run on running backs. We had Matt Breida, Sony Michel go, Alexander Madison, Keyshawn Vaughn, Phillip Lindsay, and Latavius Murray going at the 9-3. And then also we have that one person that I know this is all computerized, but San Francisco's defense went at the 9-6, which is stupid. Please don't draft the defense until your last pick. And then we got Josh Allen going at the 9-7. Zach Moss, a rookie running back for Buffalo, went at the 9-8. And then Kerryon Johnson went at the 9-11. So it's my pick at the 9-12. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab Antonio Gibson here because I know I get back-to-back picks. I just don't think he's going to be there on the turnaround. So I'm going to go and grab him now. And then I'm going to look at wide receiver, see what's available there. We have some good options. We have CeeDee Lamb, we have Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, Mecole Hardman, Jameson Crowder, Christian Kirk, and Jalen Reagor. Now, out of all those players that are on the board, I know this is probably not the consensus pick, but I'm going to go with Jalen Reagor, just because of what's going on in the league for the Philadelphia Eagles right now with players being injured, players opting out. I do think that Jalen Reagor has the potential to be a very high upside and good value wide receiver. So then, Henry Ruggs went after my pick at the 10-2. Jared Cook got picked at the 10-3. And let's see, Carson Wentz went at the 10-5. Then you had a run of CeeDee Lamb. And then Jerry Jeudy went. And then we had a run on a couple picks of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Baltimore Ravens got the 10-10, 10-11. And then, let's see. Yeah, I mean, Damian Harris went at the 11-11. That was going to be my next pick. I like Damian Harris just because Sony Michel is injured right now. But I'm going to look at what's at running back. And let's see. Really not a lot to go with right now. So I'm going to look at quarterback and look at what's at the quarterback position. We have Big Ben and we have Baker Mayfield. Now, in this position, if I'm choosing between these guys, I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield. He's healthier. He's younger. He's in a good offense. With Big Ben coming off that elbow surgery, I just don't know how much he's going to hold up. I want to take that risk there, but I rather have Baker Mayfield where I know it's going to be he's 100% healthy. He's in a good offense, and so I'm gonna go ahead and take Baker Mayfield right here at the 11-12. And so now I don't need to worry about drafting their quarterback. In a one quarterback league, you don't need to worry about taking 2 quarterbacks on your roster. Just you can stream quarterbacks. If you don't like Baker Mayfield, you can always find somebody to plug in. So I'm going to go back to running back and see what's available. And going through my options here, not really a lot of guys that I really want to draft. But I got to figure out who I want to get before I pick, because I won't be picking for a lot of, this is my last pick. So there's going to be a lot of picks before I get to pick again. I already have Jalen Reagor. I do think Boston Scott is a sneaky PPR guy in the flex position. With Justin Jackson, let's see. I'm going to go, actually what I'm going to do, I'm going with Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde is, he plays for Seattle. He got, picked up by him in the offseason. We just don't know exactly what's going to go on with Rashad Penny coming back and then Chris Carson. So I'd rather take a flyer on Carlos Hyde right there at the 12-1. I mean, he could be a guy. He's one of those guys that could have the potential to be, someone who can be very productive and consistent on your roster if he gets the opportunity. I mean, he did well with Houston last year. He had over 1,000 yards rushing. So, I mean, he does have talent. And now with the injuries happening with Carson and with Penny, I think that allows Carlos Hyde to have an opportunity to start. All right, so now it's my pick again at 13-12. Really nobody that sticks out the most, other than there was 2 kickers taken at Justin Tucker and Harrison Buckner. Let's see. Golden Tate, I mean, I think that's a good pick at the 13-10 late in drafts. So going based on this, at wide receiver, I'm going to go, I have my choice of running back and receiver. I'm going to take, at this pick, I'm going to take Allen Lazard. I think with Geronimo Allison opting out, I mean, Devontae Adams is the clear-cut number 1, obviously, but I think Allen Lazard has the potential to have a good season. He could be your flex. He could be possibly a wide receiver 2 on some weeks. Well, we don't know exactly, obviously, but he does have some really good upside. And with that, with my pick at the 14-1, obviously these are my last couple picks. So I'm going to go defense and I'm going to go kicker. So right now, looking at the position at kicker, I'm gonna grab Will Lutz, because obviously you want to try to find a kicker that's on a high-powered offense, and I love the Saints offense. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab Will Lutz here. And then for my defense, I'm going to have to wait for that to come around. But, when it comes to defenses, you want to try to find the best week 1 matchup you can, because you're going to stream defenses all year long unless you find the Chicago Bears defense of a couple years ago, or just like you had with the Patriots or defense last year. But most people are going to stream defenses. So for me, New Orleans Saints, I know, play the Bucs the first game of the season, so I'm not going to pick the Saints, even though they're the best defense right now on the board. And honestly, I don't know all the whole schedule right now, so I'm going to go in and choose. I'm just going to choose the Rams defense. I think the Rams have enough pieces there where, this, and obviously this pick doesn't really matter that much, only because if they don't have a good matchup, I can just drop them and pick them another defense. So I'm going to just take the Los Angeles Rams there. And that's it. I mean, that's the draft. Pretty quick pretty quick draft. So a recap of my team. I have Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones, Mark Andrews, Amari Cooper, Ronald Jones, Terry McLaurin, Tevin Coleman, Jordan Howard, Antonio Gibson, Jalen Reagor, Baker Mayfield, Carlos Hyde, Allen Lazard, Will Lutz, and then the Los Angeles Rams defense. So let me know what you think about that roster. Let me know in the comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, tell me if you like that roster. Tell me if there's players that you like better than what I had at the position that I've drafted them at. But this is kind of what it looks like. I mean, I didn't take a running back until the 5-12, and I picked up Ronald Jones. So Ronald Jones is going to be my starting running back on my roster. I know that sounds gross to say, but I have elite players all around him. So hopefully that carries my offense throughout the season, my team throughout the year, where if I do need to make moves, I have the star power with the names I have on my roster. So that's it for today. That's the draft. And I really appreciate you guys listening today. Please like, comment, and share this with your friends, with your family. On the next episode, I will be discussing my must-have running backs for 2020. So don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss another episode. If you want to connect with us on social media, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at the Gridiron Pod, and on Instagram at Gridiron Fantasy Football. That's it for today. Have a great day, and we'll see you all in the next episode. Take care.